This is Ron with Art Moose TV, here with Paul Renner, well-known photographer and leader of safaris in Africa. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing great, Ron.
So how did you get into the safari business?
Well, it's not really accidental. I wanted to go back to Africa. I was born and grew up in East Africa. I spent a lot of time out there, 17 years, and I love it out there. So I kept going back, and eventually I thought, I got to find a different way to do this because it's too expensive to keep going back, just paying for the whole trip and everything. It's an expensive trip. So I started showing my photos at art shows, and people kept asking me, how do I get to Africa? Who do you recommend I go with? So finally I thought, I'm going to start leading my own tours. And back in 2005, I led my first tour, and now I've done 30 tours already over there. And so they've just been amazing.
How many tours have you done this year?
This year I did 5. I'm trying to do 5 each year, 5 or 6, depending on something like that. But I don't want to overdo it, but I just enjoy doing that amount. It's kind of what I like and what I want to do, and that seems to work best for me.
I've worked with you for, what, 5, 6 years now on different projects with different shows and stuff, and you have an amazing love of animals. And I heard when you were young, you used to sneak out of school sometime when you were living in South Africa and East Africa.
East Africa, yeah. Lived in Kenya. Well, I went to high school in Kenya. Was born and grew up in Tanzania.
So you speak the language and everything?
I speak Swahili fluently, yeah. So
I've heard people talk about you being on the phone while you're doing your, pre-work to going over to Africa, and they're like, they can't believe that you're sitting there on the phone talking to people.
Well, I need to.
Well, you have to coordinate everything.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at some of the animals that you worked with here in Africa. And probably the first one is, let's take a look at the giraffes. This one with the 3 of them, that's kind of a rare shot. It's kind of like they're crisscrossed everything else.
Yeah, it is a rare shot. I never even really dreamed about getting a shot like that because it's so hard to get. I wanted them with their necks crossed or down drinking, but to get both of them in one shot, you just have to be in the right place, right time, and be ready. And I was able to get it.
Take a look at this video on giraffes. You were telling me that they'll pretty much eat anything?
Well, they're vegetarian. They'll eat the bushes, but it's amazing because the thorn trees that you see in Africa have these big, long thorns on them, 2.5, 3-inch thorns. And you'll see the giraffe just go down, and sometimes they'll just run their mouth right across that whole branch. The thorns are all there, and I don't know how they do it, but very tough inside their mouth, and their tongues are tough. So fascinating to watch them eat. They're just really tough animals.
So let's take a look at a lion, because cats are what people want to go see in Africa. The big cat's the big draw.
That's right.
For me, I like the giraffes and the elephants, but this guy here, he's a pretty good size.
He was a big lion. Beautiful animal. This particular lion was, it was in the evening. We just started our game drive. Dark, stormy evening. Thunder and lightning all around, and I was kind of disappointed because we saw this lion up on the rock. He's just like he's posing. The wind's blowing. There's about a 15-mile-an-hour breeze, and everything was perfect except there was no light. And then we stayed there a few minutes, and all of a sudden the light came through a hole in the clouds, just lit him up long enough. 2 minutes later, it was pouring rain. So just, again, right time, right place, and it worked for us.
Let's take a look at another lion. This one looks like he's coming to lunch. Were you lunch that day?
I could have been. We were watching this male and female. They had been a breeding pair, a mating pair, and we were watching them at the end of that, early in the morning. Before the sun came up, we saw them, and the female would get up and she'd walk 100 yards, and he'd get up and he'd go, well, I better walk up, follow her, better follow her. So he'd walk along too, and we kept following them and following them. Finally, the sun started coming up and was getting light that we could get some good pictures. And
now, I've seen a lot of videos of your lions and stuff where they're like going after food and game and they're aggressive. But this next picture, they look like they actually like each other.
They do. I mean, lions are very affectionate. The cats, most of the cats are very affectionate, but the lions are probably the most affectionate. And that's what I like to tell people when they're on my safaris, how to anticipate what the lions are going to be doing so that they can get pictures of all this. When we are out there and you see the lions, these two just happen to be sitting together. They were actually part of a big pride. There was 8 lions there, and the 2 just were just off on the side, and I saw what they were doing, so I let everybody know to try to get some pictures like that, because it's just fascinating. You don't see that intimacy too often, so you'll see the babies rubbing faces with the mothers, and the sometimes with the fathers, but not too often. But it's just nice to get the couples like that.
This next video, it looks like 4, and you corrected me, these are male lions.
Male lions.
Young
male lions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must have been what threw me off.
Well, you can tell if you look closely, you can see their manes are just starting to grow. But we had seen them, we were in the Masai Mara and driving along early in the morning again. It had been raining in the nighttime, and so there was water, a little bit of water in the road. And I saw these lions walking around, so I said, let's get on the other side of the pond. When the lions come, they may stop to drink then. And so we were lucky they stopped, and they all got down and started drinking. Just a beautiful scene.
Yeah, this next one is a leopard. Did I get that one right? You've been giving me animal classes all the time.
I've been trying. That's a leopard. That was in South Africa. It was late in the evening this time, almost dark. And when we first saw him, I was in an open Land Rover, no cover on top, and he was sitting just right below me here. And it was interesting. It reminded me of some stories from my youth when a leopard had actually jumped in a friend of mine's car and hurt some of them. But I thought, this is crazy. I'm sitting here 4 feet from this leopard, and he could jump right in here. Well, all of a sudden he got up and he went down away from the car to that little watering hole and went to drink. And so I wanted to get a picture of him looking up at me, and if I could, get one with his tongue in the water too while he's drinking. And so he was just not interested because they're used to the cars. Well, when I put the camera in high speed, that was a sound different than what he's used to hearing. So he looked right up at me, and I clicked it another time and got the picture I wanted.
Good. Then anybody goes to Africa, got to look at the elephants.
Oh yeah.
Apparently they're everywhere too.
Elephants. Well, there's a lot of them.
It looks like a mother and a baby crossing the stream here, or the river.
Yes, that's the mother and a baby, and it's kind of fascinating because you can tell by the mother's ankles the water's not very deep, but yet the baby's all wet. And what was fascinating to me was how the mother would just walk right behind that baby and just touch it with her trunk, not push it, not pull it, not lift it, just let it know that she was there in case it needed her. And it was just fascinating to watch that. They came all the way across, and then they climbed up the bank on the other side, and it was just a very nice moment.
This next video is of an elephant getting a mud bath. Now, there's people that pay lots of money for this, but apparently the elephant, he does it every day or every
as often as he can. Yeah, depends on how much water there is. It does two things really. It works as a good sunscreen for them because the sun can't penetrate the mud, and also a bug repellent because the bugs have trouble biting them through their skin. The elephants have tender skin, believe it or not. It's thick and it's hard, but it's quite tender. So they like to cover themselves in mud. And this guy looked like he was just really enjoying this mud bath, and it was just a pleasure to watch him. I thought, man, he looked like he's in heaven. The whole herd left, and he just stayed there.
It's been a pleasure having you here today. And would you please be so gracious as to sign our board for us today?
Well, sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, let's go do that.
Yeah.
Just pick your spot.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time, Paul.
Thank you very much, Ron.
You have a good
Pleasure
one.
being here.